I thought I was making a mushroom painting for an art show. That was the plan when I started this series. A finished body of work, a clear direction, something I could build toward and feel confident about presenting. But somewhere in the middle of this process, I started to notice something wasn't lining up. Not just with the painting, with me. When I began this piece, I approached it the way I always used to work, layering from the background, building structure first, letting the composition guide everything else. It's a method I've taught, it's familiar, and it works when everything's aligned. But this time, it didn't feel like it was coming together in the same way. It felt like I was trying to re-enter a version of my creative life that I had stepped away from. I came back to these backgrounds, and I knew they weren't going to work as they are. The colors aren't wrong, but they're not enough anymore. The direction has changed, and now the design needs to catch up. So I have a thought that I need to immediately test. How about I see what happens when I transfer some of the handmade papers? What's that gonna do? And the idea got me pretty excited. So I am going to give this a little bit of a go. This is gonna work. All right, so my plan has evolved. And I'm thinking that the backgrounds of these canvases are going to be a little more literal. They're still going to be abstract, but not so fully abstract. Oh my gosh. See, now this is exciting. This is where I could call this sort of a payoff of pushing this all the way a little bit further, because look at that. That's pretty exciting, you know? I mean, that just takes it up a notch, don't you think? I'm thinking now, I'm not gonna eliminate colors. I'm just gonna build up the greens down here so I can sort of ground the mushrooms a little bit. I could just finish these the way I used to finish this design, which would be the easiest path to the finish line. I would already be done, actually, and they would be fine, really. At first, I thought the problem was technical. Maybe the composition wasn't strong enough. Maybe the layers weren't working. Maybe I just needed to push it further. So I kept going. I adjusted things. I overthought things. I tried to fix things. It's not my norm to keep pushing and seeing what else I can make happen. I usually stop at good enough. I play it safe. And this is where I get stuck sometimes. When I'm in the design phase, figuring things out, experimenting, there really isn't an efficient way to measure that time. But my marketing brain hates this. I'm always thinking about production time or how long something should take if I were teaching it. And I think that's why I've stopped short in the past before fully exploring a new technique. Trust me, it is hard to snap out of the automation of production mode and back into discovery mode. I added a new tool to my moving studio this week. I was so excited and couldn't wait to execute this idea. I started hammering nails in the wall before our Airbnb guests left for the day. Marty thought I was crazy. This is what I'm going to call my think wall. Since I normally work on a flat table instead of an easel, I need a place where I can hang works in progress to see them from the viewer's perspective. This will allow me to spend some time with them as I figure out my new process. I've been staring at these mushrooms. I've also been staring at these papers. Some of these I made recently for the mushrooms, these and these. And then these are some pour skins, leftovers from a paint pour. This is how I reuse my blotter paper, or the paper I use to protect my table. I usually make a big piece of handmade paper from it. And this one, it was made with mushrooms in mind. As I have been looking at all of these mushrooms, I want to pick a couple different varieties. If you want to leave in the comments which of these mushrooms really appeal to you. Probably can't read the names on them, but you might actually know them. But I was going to pick 3 for this series. Then I started overthinking and thinking, oh, well, maybe they should all be culinary mushrooms. Maybe they should all be wild mushrooms or related in some other kind of way. Then I decided I needed to sketch. I happen to have a pretty good selection of photos that I've taken, and I printed some out These are photos of mushrooms that have come up in my yard in the last couple springs and summers when we've had a lot of rain. And I'm cutting these out because I feel like they might end up being glued into the sketchbook. Might do a little color study to find the right colors that I want. And who knows, it might actually lead to me making more paper. Who knows, I might even paint mushrooms. It could happen. It's not highly likely, but it could happen. I'm really just trying this because I feel like this is what real artists do, and I want to feel like a real artist. At least I want to try it their way. I mean, I am a real artist, but I usually just jump in on the canvas. But I just like the idea of thinking it through a little bit more ahead of time because, you know, because I can. And that's what this year is all about for me, because my routine has always been create a design. And there is a difference between design and art. Design is art, yes, but designing is different than just making art. Just simply is. And I have spent more of my years creating with a design mindset. I'm just trying out creating more with an art mindset. And it doesn't mean I won't ever design anymore. I absolutely will. But I do think doing things this way is going to improve my design. So here we go. It's a perfect day to do these sketches outside. So that has me double excited. I haven't decided sunglasses or regular glasses yet. I started to see that I was trying to build a large, structured art process inside a season of life that was asking for something a little more flexible. So instead of pushing harder on the canvas, I stepped back. I started sketching again, not with the goal of fixing anything, just to see what would happen if I didn't try to finish anything at all. And that changed something. Because in my sketchbook, I wasn't trying to make the mushroom painting work. I was just observing it, simplifying it, letting it become more of an idea again instead of a problem that I had to solve. Because the more I worked on this, the more I realized I wasn't responding to the painting in front of me. I was responding to an older version of how I used to make mixed media. And that's a strange thing to notice, because part of me still wanted to work the old way. That would have been simpler, familiar, predictable. But my life doesn't look like it did when I used to work that way. My time doesn't. My energy doesn't. And honestly, I don't either. Somewhere in the middle of all this, I had to pause. Not because the painting was finished, but because I wasn't sure I was still solving the right problem. And life didn't really give me a clean pause button either. And the reality is, my studio time is not always going to be the center of everything. And that's when I started noticing something I hadn't really wanted to admit earlier. The issue wasn't just the painting. It was the expectation I had attached to it. The idea that I was supposed to be producing a certain kind of work on a certain kind of timeline for for a certain kind of outcome. As I got deeper into this process, I realized something really clearly. I don't have the time right now to create a body of work that feels cohesive, not without forcing it, not without rushing something that doesn't want to be rushed. I also realized I'm not fully set up for that kind of production in this season of my life right now. Even my physical setup, my tent, my display system, it all needs time and attention I can't give it in this moment. So instead of pushing forward just because I had already decided I would, I stepped back from that decision too. And there's another part to this that's been sitting in the background for a while. I've been feeling drawn again to making mixed media jewelry. Not as a replacement for painting, but as something that feels closer to how I'm thinking creatively right now. Smaller scale, more immediate, more flexible. Something I can carry with me instead of needing a full studio setup to move forward. I don't know yet what that becomes. I don't know if this summer leads back into large paintings again or something entirely different. But I think for now, I'm trying to stop forcing myself into a version of creative work that doesn't match the life I'm actually living. So the mushroom painting isn't really about whether I can finish it the way I originally planned anymore. It's become something else. It's become a marker for a shift, a point where I realized I can either keep trying to return to how things used to be, or I can start paying attention to what's actually emerging now. And I think that's where I am. Not finishing, not abandoning, just in the middle of something changing. So I don't know exactly where this painting ends up yet, but I think I'm more interested in where this process is taking me. And I'll keep following that for a little while.